This is Chris Pastore. I'm the director of the Master of Liberal Arts program, and I'm here with my colleague Akila Abdul Rahman from LPS. And we're happy to spend some time with you, answer some questions, share some information, let you know a little bit more about our Master of Liberal Arts. And also, we can answer some questions about the Master of Philosophy and Liberal Arts because I saw some of the folks that had RSVP'd were interested in that program. So I'm going to share my screen and show you some slides. It's not the most intensive dog and pony show, but it will have some good information, I think, for you. And then we can have some questions and answers afterwards. In the meantime, though, you could put the questions in the chat or in the Q&A feature. Some of them we may answer along the way, but also we can kind of try and keep our eyes peeled to them. Anything we can get to along the way, great. If not, we'll get to afterwards once I run through the slides. So again, thanks for joining us, and I hope we can answer some questions for you to help you make your decision about whether the Master of Liberal Arts or, as I said, the Master of Philosophy and Liberal Arts could be right for you. So welcome to Penn School of Arts and Sciences, the Division of Liberal Professional Studies, and the Master of Liberal Arts program. As I said, I'm Chris Pastore. I've been the director of the MLA for about 20 years. Akila Abdul Rahman has been at LPS for probably 7 or 8 years now and does a lot of work really helping communicate with prospective students and current students. She does a lot of advising for our summer programming and all that. So she's really well versed in things we do in our division office with this program and in the school writ large. There's a couple of important things I think everybody should want to try and remember about the MLA. First and foremost, just remember that it is a interdisciplinary master's degree that requires 9 course units. Penn doesn't really use credits, so a course unit is equivalent of like a 3 or 4 credit course at most institutions. And you can do this degree full-time or part-time. Historically, we were a part-time program. We're probably about 75 to 80% part-time now, with about 25% full-time students. You can also do it on campus entirely, or you could do it online and on campus in a mix with some in-person and some online courses. And some students recently have done the degree completely online, although that does limit the range of courses that are available to you because we don't have nearly as many graduate courses offered online at the university as we do in person. In this MLA program, you develop your own unique individualized program of study. So you come up with your own concentration. You pick the course you think that'll help you develop that concentration. You then look at the courses you've taken and figure out what courses you need to take still to get all the pieces to the puzzle together to write that final capstone, which is your last paper that you deliver to meet the degree requirements. So basically what you're doing is a create your own major program where you develop your own theme, which becomes your concentration that guides your course selection to develop your area of interest. And that could be courses from 8 different departments. Could be courses from 2 departments where you take 3 and 3 and then a couple of electives. You can mix and match in a range of different ways to develop the concentration because the courses mean what you want them to mean based on your research and what you write about in the classes and how you spin that and deploy that disciplinary knowledge that you learn about the methods of a practitioner of comparative literature versus the content you learn when you write that final capstone. You learn a lot of different approaches to all these things in terms of different ways to, avenues to solve problems and develop new skills in critical thinking and in different disciplinary methodologies that you use to write that final capstone paper. Why do people do an MLA? A lot of people ask this. People know why people get an MBA in finance. They oftentimes understand why someone might get an MA in English or a Master's of Education in International Education. An MLA is kind of an amorphous thing. There are a number of these graduate liberal studies programs. The oldest might be, I think, the MLA equivalent that Georgetown offer, which might be going on, I think, 75 years old. But there are a number of these around the country in graduate liberal studies. A lot of folks do it because it really helps them with professional development. It can even lead to career transition and career growth. It's a focused course of study as opposed to just being a book group or taking classes or having some fun in the academic space. And you can use this for career orientation and for personal reasons. A lot of folks do it kind of almost as edutainment. They really want to learn more that might be complementary to what they do in the workplace or might just be a total add-on that's going to allow them to grow as a person. But you're going to do this in a degree program, earning a professional master's degree, a credential, at an Ivy League school that's really rigorous. The coursework is really hard. The reading is really intense. The discussions in seminar are really involved. And you're going to be asked to do a lot of reading and writing. But you're also going to be allowed to do it in a flexible fashion where you can be part-time or full-time or a mix thereof. And as I said, take courses day, evening, maybe even online. And in the process, in those courses, you're going to have real great opportunities to connect with and network with faculty teaching those courses, lecturers and standing faculty and affiliates and adjuncts at Penn, as well as peers in the classroom. That's going to be everything from 22-year-old students right out of college. They're using this as a bridge to maybe another graduate program, or we've even had 60 and 70-year-old retirees coming back to like figure out what to do in their third or fourth act in life. And then everything in between. The median age has historically been in the 30s. Some terms it drifts a little younger based on the full-time students, and sometimes drifts a little older based on the number of part-time students that have jumped into the program. But you're doing this degree, whether you do it full-time or part-time, flexible approach online, in a really dynamic and academically rich environment. America's first university, celebrating its like 285th year anniversary this year. Penn was one of the first schools founded that was not a religious institution, a seminar or the like, unlike Harvard, Princeton, and Yale. So Penn's a really interesting operation because we've always been a place that was trying to teach the whole person and teach the whole community. We have tremendous library resources, 7 million volumes and huge digital records and archives. We have great writing and academic support and all kinds of opportunities for you to work in a research environment, working with faculty members and doing your own research. And you can do this across all 12 schools at Penn. School of Arts and Sciences, home of the liberal arts at Penn, is the home of our division and the home of our degree. So we are a program in the School of Arts and Sciences, but you can also, as an MLA student, take up to 2 courses in one of the 11 professional schools. So every year we have students take courses from the Wharton School in Business, from the Annenberg School of Communications. I've had folks take courses in nursing and education, and I've even had folks take some courses with med school faculty and the vet school faculty. Someone once did a really interesting concentration on human-animal interaction and wrote their final capstone on the sort of legend of the horse Barbaro that won the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown and then broke down and tragically was lost. And she studied like how do humans and animals engage with one another. So people do all kinds of really, really cool stuff in our program. And across all 12 schools, the faculty that you take courses with are currently connecting their current hot research with their courses. So grad courses oftentimes really cutting edge, where knowledge is being grown, where the world of literary studies or gender studies or chemistry is actually bigger tomorrow than it is today because of what these faculty and their students are doing in the classroom. And you can challenge yourself across the range of liberal arts because we don't require many courses in terms of specifics. Everyone does one MLA Pro seminar, but usually we offer 3 or 4 each term in different topics. And everybody has to do 9 graduate level course units, including their capstone. But we don't tell you what departments they need to be in. There are 28 departments across the School of Arts and Sciences and 22 interdisciplinary programs. And then there are a similarly large number of departments and programs across the other professional schools. And that's a wide range of graduate courses across the liberal arts and even beyond humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences in the other professional schools. Our outstanding teachers really help you dive into the subject matter and really learn a lot and really wrestle with, I would say, insoluble problems, but problems that people have just put on the table and want to unpack and address. And that can be really fun because you're not just onboarding lectures, you are engaging with reading material, with faculty-led discussions, and with the research your fellow students are doing in the classroom, and really thinking about very new approaches to sometimes old and sometimes really, really new questions. You develop your own concentration, as I said, for the MLA, and every student should declare a concentration that goes in their transcript. But we also have a range of certificates ranging from cinema media studies to ancient studies to cultural heritage management. And those can be a really, really valuable add-on, a complement to your concentration, or even replace your concentration as effectively your concentration itself. Oh, let me go back. And I think the great thing about the MLA is that at the end, you write this capstone. It can be a creative writing piece. It can be a research or academic paper. We've had STEM research papers as well, where folks have done lab work and reported that out. So the whole range of the courses that are offered across the liberal arts could be an opportunity for you to develop that capstone. And oftentimes that capstone will bring in more than one discipline, right? This is that interdisciplinary angle that we talk about, where you can apply all the different strategies you experienced, explored, and tested out in papers in all of your courses and pull them together to help you tackle the key, maybe remaining question you have, or one of many that you still have that you haven't answered fully in any of your papers or your courses, and you can do as you write that final capstone. That can be really, really an exciting way to close out your program. The recent concentrations show us a lot about what kind of things happen in the MLA. You can see things range from like a really fun concentration a student is going to do his capstone in the spring, Michael Talley, on military, civil, and political engagement. He's a head of a procurement in an institution right now, but he was in the Navy for many, many years. And he's really interested in thinking hard about the history of the military. He took a course with me on the history and identity and mythology of Venice and studied the way that Venetian battle galleys were understood as works of art in their own right and innovative creative works, and that their designers were sort of, in many ways, endowed with the same kind of respect and interest amongst the community that great artists who painted and sculpted might have been. Really fascinating. Ruth Tan did a recent capstone on theater studies, and she really looked hard at gender roles in theater in South Asia, particularly in Hong Kong, and that was really a really fascinating program study. We have folks doing media, culture, communication, and Peter Gu, who finished this summer, did a really cool thing looking at Chinese culture, economics, and sport, wrote a final capstone on Chinese soccer and how that's been pushed by the government, but also then how did Chinese society and their appetite for consuming soccer, both live and on television, drove or did not drive the soccer prowess of China forward. So really, really a fascinating range of different kinds of programs that you can develop based on the courses you find. And then when you're done with that concentration, you're done 6 courses, you come up with a capstone idea, you pitch it in a proposal, you maybe take 2 more courses to fill some gaps, and then you get 2 readers, 2 of the people you've had classes with usually to be your readers. You write that final paper to finish kind of what you started and put that sort of final stamp on your degree with the required capstone paper. And I'm going to talk about 3 recent capstones. Jamie Mirandola, who I advised, did a really cool paper. Her concentration was cultural heritage management, which is one of our more recently developed certificates that's done in tandem with the Cultural Heritage Center here at the University Museum of Pennsylvania. And she took courses in cultural heritage and conflict, the Great War, memoir and memory, ethics, architecture, and heritage. Really, really fascinating stuff. And one of the courses she taught was taught by one of our uh, faculty on the theater of everyday life, which talks a lot about how people get out in the world, and allowed her to practice ethnography and engage how people work in that, participate in public culture out in real space, not just in the rarefied environment of the book or the print or the museum. And in her final capstone, she decided to look at festival culture and look at Italian American immigrant communities and how they connected with each other locally in their new community when they immigrated. And then how did they connect or use traditions that they brought with them from Italy that reminded them of what they had left behind, and helped them perpetuate, but also refine what it meant to be Italian in the new neighborhoods that they found themselves in, places like Boston and Philadelphia and Chicago. She ended up focusing primarily on 3 different festivals in Philadelphia because she had to really, really narrow focus, because you have to really kind of zero in on things when you're writing a paper of this, of good quality in something like a capstone or a thesis. And I thought it was really fascinating because she also found a lot of really interesting documents that were produced by the city of Philadelphia, members of the Italian American community who are organizers, participants, and even then contemporary news reporting about some of these festivals when they first got approved, when they first got off the ground, and then what happened to them later. And that was really kind of cool because she had a chance to think hard about how this correlated to anthropologists and historians who study festival culture, and what they say it means about developing cultural identity, that can both be individual and part of your community, and how that relates to the facts on the ground and what people did and why they said they did certain things. I thought that was really, really a lot of fun. Now, Fossa did a really cool research project looking at Ophelia, who has a short life in Hamlet, and is more often known in images of her floating dead, lifeless in the river after she kills herself. Um, Her concentration was in performance studies, and she took really, really cool courses. I thought operas, theater, object, and script, a course on pre-modern monstrosity. She took a course in screenwriting, some courses in literature and in religion. And it gave her a lot to think about. She decided to dig into Hamlet, right? Really well-known play, performed many different ways in many different iterations. And then what the different characters mean, especially even some of those who don't have the most high-profile role or the most lines, if you will. And she decided to think hard about Ophelia both as a character and as a person, and how we could understand her corporeality, her humanity, and the idea of substance and identity, and sort of where real and imaginary, where fiction and life cross over between two areas. And she kind of bought into this recent concept of being ghosted, right? That we hear about a lot in both social media and in human engagement and interaction right now in the modern realm, and how that could be a way to unpack or ask different questions about what Ophelia's role was, and what she meant to driving the story of Hamlet forward. I thought that was really, really fascinating. Brandon Baker, who is a professional writer and does a lot of communications work, particularly in institutional realm about education, did a concentration in anthropology, education, and communication. And he took courses in crisis communications and cultural anthropology, East Asian studies, courses on international relationships, language, and society, and developed a capstone he called In Pursuit of Excellence, Chinese International Students, Prestige, and Belonging. In his capstone, he put together a really fascinating examination of exactly what do international students face when they go to a new country and take on a degree, undergrad or graduate. What do they know that they're up for? How prepared are they? How hard is it for them to both adjust and acclimatize to the new environment, but also to the new approach to education they're oftentimes dealing with the first time? The Chinese and American education systems are really different. And what does that mean for a student in terms of success? What does it mean for them for their takeaways down the road? What does it mean for them in terms of, um, you know, their better understanding of where they fit into the world in this global economy, and where do they fit into Chinese culture now that they have this new experience studying in another country. And I thought that was really, really a pretty cool thing, because he was really fascinated and had been studying Chinese and Japanese for a number of years on his own, and decided he wanted to study East Asian culture a little bit and keep doing some language, but decided it was also interesting to think hard about um, students who come to the US, and like does when he travels the other way with his language studies, what happens when you bump up against these language barriers? What happens when your fluency is pressed by really intense educational requirements? And how do students navigate those things? And I thought that was really, really a cool and pertinent thing, especially with the rise of international students in US universities over the last couple of years. We have a real interesting range of courses. We run usually 14 to 18 Master Liberal Arts courses in the evening, a mix of in-person, usually like about half and half, sometimes two-thirds, one-third in person and online. Evenings, usually once a week in the term, the summer and in the term. And among those, we usually run a couple of pro seminars and a number of other seminars. We have a couple of really cool new courses for us this spring. Rahul Mukherjee is doing an MLA Pro seminar on media industry and the global creator economy. Also, the English course at the bottom, Cultures of the Book by Whitney Tretian, is also an MLA Pro seminar. I neglected to type that in the title. He's an English professor that's really going to look hard at the thing, the book, how we understand them as objects, how we understand them as vehicles for grabbing and collecting knowledge, how they reflect our interest in talking to one another through the medium of the book. And there's going to be some interesting opportunities to do some like digital treasure hunts and scavenger hunts, as well as engaging with some manuscripts and think hard about the tradition of writing and printing books and reading and consuming books, literature, and nonfiction as well. Eileen Doherty-Sill is going to bring back a course on conflict and cooperation in the global arena. It looks a lot at NGOs, at uh, the way different state institutions and government departments and things like the US military engage overseas with other cultures and other government entities, which should be really fascinating. And then Amelia Bench-Shaws is doing a course. It's a new course for us on the classical traditions. It's going to look a lot at religion, ritual, literature, and poetry. the classical tradition that is sort of the root of the liberal arts education, if you will, going back to the earliest education in the European university tradition, and what happens as that classical tradition has come forward to the modern day, and what sort of things we can ask and answer about why we read what we do, why we study what we do. That should be a lot of fun. After the MLA, folks go on to PhD programs, they go on to JD and MBA programs, they go back or stay in the workplace, but sometimes move into different positions within their existing job. We've even had people move laterally or diagonally into totally new jobs based on things they learned, because they get a lot of both knowledge and academic exposure, but also grow a lot of confidence and improve your critical thinking and communication skills, which are like the power skills that a liberal arts education, both at the undergrad and the graduate level, can allow you to develop. And we've had alums tell us over the years that really the MLA was a great continuing ed, lifelong learning program that helped them grow as individuals. And a couple students like have said to me, as cliche as it kind of sounds, that they now feel like they're a better version of themselves after doing the MLA and getting in these grad courses, particularly because they're in courses with such a wide range of students from different socio and economic backgrounds, different age demographic, different cultural backgrounds, and meeting and talking to so many different kinds of students from the graduate population across the university that would be in grad courses you might take, both those in the MLA roster and those you might take with the School of Arts and Sciences or at another school, come from so many different places that you're just bouncing ideas off of a really wide-ranging, smart, and interesting population of fellow students. To get admitted, it's pretty straightforward. We have an online application. We need a range of essays. They don't have to be super long. They need to tell us a little bit about what your motivation are, why you want to do the MLA, and where you're trying to go with your degree. We need 2 references. Academic references are great, but professional letters can be good, especially if you've been out of the classroom for a little while. We don't require any exams other than TOEFL or other language exams for non-native speakers. We then ask for a resume that's current, up to date, tells us what you've been doing, primarily because we try to be holistic in our application review. And if you're coming to us as a 40-year-old who hasn't been in school for 20 years, your transcripts help us, but also what you've been doing in the workplace is really relevant. Then we want transcripts from all post-secondary institutions, and that might include your undergrad, summer program, a post-bac course you took. So we need all of those transcripts to see exactly what you've been doing, and then our application fee. The deadlines, I haven't updated them. Our next application coming up is for spring 2026. Deadline's November 1st, but it's rolling, so you could start an application now. Spring 2026 is open. I think summer 2025 will be open soon. And I think the deadline for summer will again be April 1st in 2026, but you could start applying probably, I think that's going to open in October. And then the fall application will probably open shortly after that, primarily because other fall programs that have earlier deadlines than ours that only admit once a year will be opening as well. So look on our website for updated deadlines for summer and fall 2026. They should be coming in. But once the applications are open for any term, you could apply for any of those terms and be considered as soon as your application is complete. Then we would preview it. If you look like a potential fit for the program, you might then schedule an interview. After an interview, then we would go through application review. So you could apply for fall probably in January and know by early March that what you're up to. You don't have to wait until the deadline to submit. And I always encourage earlier applications so you can make plans. And you can find this information out on the LPS website. LPS, as I said, is the College of Liberal and Professional Studies, which is our division. We're one of 3 divisions in the School of Arts and Sciences. So you would be an MLA student in LPS, in SAS at Penn. And the basic financials right now for 2025, 2026, to the best of our knowledge, each course unit or each class at the graduate level will cost $5,904. So you multiply that times 9 to get the cost of the degree for the academic part, and then living expenses and other kind of things. If you're doing this full time and moving to campus, there should be some information about that, I think, on the Penn Student Records and Financial Services pages about cost of degree projections. Financial aid can be available in the form of loans for students taking 2 courses or more. If you're a domestic student, we don't have any loans or subsidized loans for international students. We have no grants or scholarships for the MLA program. There have been students who have gotten outside funding, which they can apply towards the degree, and certainly that would be great if you could do that. International students must take a full-time course load that is 3 or 4 course units, which is generally 3 or 4 graduate courses at the graduate level. And we calculate tuition per course. There's no set term tuition for full-time. So that's the end of my slideshow. I'm going to stop the share and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So I am going to, let's see, open the Q&A and see if there's anything in there first. And I'll answer those, but also then if anybody's in the group, we probably could open everybody up and allow you to talk and you could raise your hands and pop into the Zoom room and ask questions. Let me just go through the Q&A and the chat first. Angel Abreu asked about taking courses online and how robust the offerings are. Art, philosophy, and pedagogy. There are some online courses every term. We've had courses in art history. We've had online courses in philosophy. We've had online courses, not too many in grad ed. Grad ed does have some education courses in online, but a lot of them are narrow bandwidth programs. Like they have a new one in artificial intelligence and K-12 education, stuff like that. But it doesn't mean you couldn't hunt around and find stuff. So you will not find nearly as many philosophy courses online in any given term at the graduate level than you would on campus. If you come on campus, there's going to be courses listed in cross-listed philosophy. There's going to be 20 plus, right? But there might be 1 or 2 online courses that talk about different aspects of philosophy offered by the MLA, the dynamics program, the behavioral and decision sciences program. You wouldn't know till you looked, but each turn is going to be a new grab bag of online offerings. So it will not be nearly as robust as if you were on campus. But if you cannot come to campus, I've had all students that have done this online say they had a really, really fun experience. Sure, it was, I guess, to them, the luck of the draw each term to see what popped up. But if you're taking one course a term over 3 years or 4 years part-time, every term, if you keyword search and you search by grad level, the odds that you'll find 10 courses that are relevant. And if you tick, I want online only, maybe 2 or 3 will be offered. And then you'll keyword search more. Just try and find 4 or 5 possibly interesting grad online courses. Email the professors, ask for a preliminary syllabus and see what they're reading and talking about, and go from there. And usually you can make it happen. It depends to me on how dynamic you are in terms of your approach to education. Cheyenne, if you study abroad as part of a study abroad program, how would you like those transcripts? To me, we would really love to have the transcript with the grade on it. That could be from the school you went to, but if there's a grade on your undergrad degree program, like literally it comes back and says you went to Oxford for some, England program in summer of 2017, but it has an A. It doesn't just say T for transfer credit. That would probably cover us. But in general, we would really love to get the actual transcript from the school that issued the credit. Let's look at the chat. Oh, Akila posted a bunch of things in the chat about tuition and application info, so that's great. So let's see. Ooh, Kimberly, reiterate, how soon should the program be notified if you're awarded an outside grant? Well, basically, you need to know if you're getting an outside grant because you got to figure out if that lines up to support the tuition and the other expenses you have. We don't admit you based on whether you have funding or not. We admit you based on your academics. So if you apply for next fall and you apply in January and we review your application, interview in February and admit you in March, you can accept the offer, but if you then don't get funding and can't come, you can always withdraw. We don't have an upfront deposit that's non-refundable. We just have the application fee. So there's no deposit. And we're not going to admit you because you have funding or you don't. Oftentimes it's hard to get funding until you're actually in a program. So that depends on the timing, but you have to be ready to move. So that's why I would say it'd be important to apply early if you're thinking about it, and then get out there and start kicking the tires and applying for grants based on your area of interest, the country of origin, let's just say, your background. There are all kinds of different things, out there for undergrad and graduate funding, but there's no guarantee that anybody would get anything. So we don't predicate our admission decision on you having funding. We predicate it only based on our holistic review of what we feel is your preparation to succeed in our program. On the chat, Someone asked about posting spring courses. Spring courses will probably be listed in our LPS course guide, like for the MLA, probably in October. And then I think that if you had access to Penn and you went to the School of Arts and Sciences and department page and you looked up their course offerings, spring courses will probably also show up late September, early October because they had know what their faculty is teaching. They may not be live for search in Path, which you would have access to only if you're already an enrolled student, probably until the end of October and to prep for advanced registration, but they're not exact. Um, Someone asked if capstones are posted on transcripts. Yes, they will be. They should be. We have a form for MPhil theses and MLA capstones. So your capstone would be listed as both your ninth course, but also the title of that final project will be listed. Anybody want to raise their hand, or I'm going to just click allow to talk and bring everybody in that's on. So you could just, raise your hand here and I'll see it in the Zoom, use the raise hand feature, or just unmute yourself and say, oh, I have a question.
Yeah,
That is
I just had a
also,
question. This is
okay.
Rohit. Yeah.
Yep.
When will the MLA degree be mailed? Do you know when?
I have no idea. That's something the Office of Penn Secretary does. So Rohit, you would
Oh,
probably have to email them, but you could email me and I could ask and see if they have a date for that yet. I don't know.
okay, thank you.
Sure. And just I say this to students in seminar and classes all the time. If you ask a question, even if it feels like an obvious question you should know, not necessarily a dumb question, although there are dumb questions, but usually they need to be asked. That usually means a presenter or a lecturer failed to share some information that we've already internalized and we know. So if you ask a question, you are literally putting yourself out there and helping everybody else in the room who's scared to ask that question. So never be afraid. It's a good way to get clarification and to get information that you need.
Just had a question. Do you know if fashion gender will be taught on spring or?
Yes, Rohit, that course will be is I think it's going to be on the roster for spring.
Okay,
But
thank you.
email me your questions because I know
Yeah,
you're asking specific questions about your MPhil application. Okay,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
thanks. Someone asked if there is a maximum time limit for the degree if taken part time. Actually, there is not. We are one of the only degree programs at Penn that no longer that does not have a time to degree clock. We don't say if you start, you have to finish in 3 years or 6 years or whatever. So I've had students doing this part time who did one course a year every fall for 9 years. I have some students currently, they're doing one course a year and they're at three after 3 years. One of them said she might take two this year coming, but she's not sure, but that's okay, right? You just need to be active and take one course a year to stay active. And we don't have to extend your student career because they don't build it for an infinite period. We'll just have to add to it, but you can keep rolling at your pace. If something bumps up where you have to take a step away for more than a year, you can take a leave of absence, but then you can return from leave of absence 3 years later and get going again, and your courses never expire. Some schools they're like, oh, you have to pay a fee to get those courses re-added to your transcript. We don't do that. I had a student do like most of his courses and then have a really, really bad car accident with a traumatic brain injury. He came back 10 years later and re-enrolled in a class and then wrote his capstone and finished. So it was basically an 18-year project. And that was okay with me, right? And that's okay with Penn. Sometimes we have to, finagle a little bit, but our job, I'm an academic advisor and a program director, but we're also kind of the people that help you with logistics management. You're driving this thing. You identify our concentration. You pick your courses. And I'm sort of your like driver's ed buddy that has like a separate break to keep you on the road, right? And I'm also your person to brainstorm ideas with, but you're in charge of this whole thing. And that includes the pace you want to do this at and what courses you want to take, full-time, part-time. I've had folks do this part-time and then suddenly jump and finish full-time because they have a new offering and they're relocating to Hawaii for work. I've had other folks start full-time, do one term, and then get an opportunity to do something here in Philly or wherever they're living and go to part-time. So you're supposed to be dynamic. The Master of Liberal Arts encourages that both academically and in terms of how you approach the degree. And then we try to help make a flexible environment that's conducive to you being an academically dynamic graduate student. I'm also okay with any of you emailing me directly with questions. I just put my email in the chat, cpastore@upenn.edu. I've been at Penn 32 and a half, 33 years. My record in the Penn system says I've been here, quote unquote, since the beginning of time because I outdate their last two upgrades to the record system. Um, but that means I've been around the block. I did an MA and a PhD here in art history. I know a tremendous number of individuals across the university and folks like Akil and I. We have a lot of colleagues and partners both in our division office, but also across the School of Arts and Sciences. We know people in the registrar and in financial aid offices and stuff like that. So we can usually find ways to connect you with people, but also can answer a lot of questions about what approaches other students have taken to succeeding in the program if you want to know that. But really our goal is to find people who are excited to learn, who want to get into a classroom, want to explore, experiment, and then figure out where it takes them. I think of the MLA as a 9 course unit program broken down into 3 chunks. I'm trying to do this with my splint on to get to 3 fingers. Sorry. 3 is like totally exploring. 3 are concentration related, and then the last 3 are capstone related. They can be out of order. Your very first course could influence your capstone, and that's okay. And all 8 or 9 of your courses connect to your concentration, but maybe if only 4 or 5 do, that's okay. I've had some students do really cool concentrations, get to course 7, they have their capstone thesis nailed down, they have readers, and they're like, I'm taking a course in black and white photography, and then I'm going to take a course on food and literature, even though they're doing a course on like, NFTs and blockchain and behavioral decision making psychology. So you can do all kinds of cool stuff. Cheyenne, go for it. Ask your question.
Yes, and this might be one of those stupid questions, but
Nope.
if like when you're starting the program, let's say you are selected and you are admitted, how does that first like couple of weeks of like finding what classes you start with, like how does that work? Do we have a meeting? How does that work?
Everybody does it differently, right? I have some students that get admitted within like they accept the offer and to do that. Once you accept, then it usually takes about a week for the records to migrate through to have your student career generated and created. So, and then they'll send you an email or a mail with how to get your pen key and password and become legit so you can log into stuff and you have access to things. Um, then I get an email from the students 3 weeks later. Hey, I just was on path, look at fall courses. I picked these 3 courses. I enrolled in them. I'm only going to take 2, but I enrolled in 3. What do you think? And I'll be like, oh, welcome to Penn. Glad you accepted. Those courses sound pretty cool. Tell me a little bit about why you want to take them. Other students get admitted and they don't want to do anything until they have a one-on-one chat. And it could be Zoom, it could be in person, it could be any number of ways. Um, I can do it any way you want, but we don't have a set like marching orders because a student that's doing this 1 course a year over 9 years versus someone who's doing this full time over 3 terms of 4, 4, and 1, let's say, they have different questions, different priorities, different approaches to how they're going to do their degree. So Cheyenne, I would let you tell me how you want me to help you. It could be I've had folks I interview, I don't see them live again until graduation. In the meantime, it's been emails on Sunday night at like 10 o'clock when somebody's like, getting ready for bed and they're like, oh, I'm going to flip through the course catalog and see what I want to take next. And they'll email me, hey, I like this course. What do you think? I might email you back Sunday night or Monday morning and keep you rolling. Others are like, I've done 6 courses. I really don't know what to call my concentration. I'm at 6s and 7s. It feels like I'm just taking cool stuff and I've loved it. And I'll be like, 15 minutes, come and talk to me in the real world or in the virtual space. And usually within 15 minutes, I'll have tried to get you to articulate the method behind your course selection madness. And usually it means you have a concentration you've just never tried to articulate. So I let you tell me how you want to be advised as much as possible. And someone asked about how early you could look and see online courses. It varies. Okay. We try to have courses available for the advanced registration period. So, like, for example, right now we're in fall. Advanced Reg for spring will open in November, a little before probably Thanksgiving, as far as I can remember, which usually means we have courses available for shopping, right? In Penn's list of courses, including those on different websites, like the LPS will have a course guide that's different from what the departments might have on their own web pages, which is different from what's up in Pennant or Path, which is the Penn record system. So you'd probably be able to shop for spring courses in October. You won't be able to look at summer courses probably until end of February, because that's when that will be getting ready for add drop, which will open for summer later in March. And also in March will be advanced registration for fall. So similarly, in February, you'd probably be able to see both summer and fall courses, which might help you if you're thinking about doing online, say, oh, I'll take this in summer because this is offered in fall, right? And then you'll put in an add drop request for summer, and you'll put in an advanced reg request to try and make sure you get that fall course as well. Oh, Akila typed that into the chat, so I'm just being redundant. But anyway, so yeah, but it's going to be different each term looking out. And then again, fall courses will be available early, but you'll be able to enroll all the way up until the add drop deadline in fall, which is usually the second week of term. And then spring courses will come up again in October for advanced reg in November, and the cycle will repeat with minor changes in the calendar based on things like holidays, upgrades to the record system and registration, that sort of thing. Any other questions?
Chris, I just want to highlight that I placed links in the chat. You might have to scroll up a little bit to the LPS course guide and the UPenn course search. And that's where you can view the courses that are available this fall. And then when spring courses are posted, you'll also be able to view them at these links. So I just wanted to highlight that for folks. It's, you can go exploring now. And the course search lists courses retroactively. I think it goes back to 2002 or 2003 at this point. So you can see what's been offered in previous terms. It doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be offered again.
Right.
But, if you want to be able to explore and see what types of courses have been offered, you can do that in the course search.
Yeah, and I think what you can also do if you're so inclined is you can go on departmental websites, and you could go to like, the philosophy department and click. I'm going to share my screen just to show you how I would do that, if you don't mind. And then in time think of other questions. So here, let me share my screen. I'll go to screen 2 here. Okay, so here we are on screen 2. Everybody can see our new dean, Mark Trodden from physics, who's our new dean. If you go to academics, you'll see departments, centers, other programs, degree programs. Click on departments. If we wanted to know what was good.
Chris.
What? Oh, I got to hit share. Sorry. There we go. Can we see it now?
Yes, now it's
All right. So now we're looking at that, move everything out of the way. Let me go back here. So I am going to the department website for the school, the school site for School of Arts and Sciences, right? You can see we're one of the divisions. We have LPS has our own website, and you'll see our own course guide here, which will both be undergrad and graduate offerings for all of our programs. So if you looked at our courses, you could see fall courses, and it will be fall courses for graduate and undergraduate programs. If you were to click on LPS online courses, Angel, that would be wrong, because those are courses offered for the Penn LPS online only programs in our Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences. So you would want to stick with things offered in the LPS course guide, and you want to click on that and go to fall and click on graduate stuff, and then you can search through that. You can even search by program, okay? So if you clicked at Master of Liberal Arts, you'd see what's up there for fall right now, okay? But you can also go to department and say, let me click on the philosophy department, okay? And let's see courses they're offering. And you'll see they've got fall, and they go back a ways, as Akila said. So you could say, ooh, let me see what was offered in spring 2025. Does not mean all those same courses will be offered again, but you could get some thoughts, and you'll see Aristotle, moral philosophy, political philosophy, all kinds of different interesting things, right? Now, you won't know if any of these are offered online. They probably are not, because these are the philosophy grad courses, primarily for their philosophy PhD program. But if you went into the course search system and typed in a course number, right, then you'd be able to find out if a course was offered online. For MLA, you could go in here and say fall, primary program, Master of Liberal Arts, and you could even then look for things like, I think keyword, I don't know if online will come up as a keyword or not. You used to be able to search for what was offered online. So no, it doesn't do that. But if you went to a course, you could check on it, and it should come up with information about the course and tell you what format it's offered in. Okay. And the same thing, if you were actually doing a search, I'm going to do a search since I'm a Penn person, right? In Path, I'm going to search and register for courses. I'm going to put fall in. What I would do if I'm doing this search is I would first go down and go to level, maybe graduate professional. All right. Then what I might also do is I might go here, instruction method, online. And then let me just put philosophy as a keyword. And we get, oh, we got an MLA course, Introduction to Political Philosophy. And then we have a data analysis course for social impact. And it's probably going to talk a little bit. You'll see the philosophy of science and other things. So you may find here 2 online courses, one offered in our program, one offered by a program in the School of Social Policy and Practice, their nonprofit leadership program, both of which could be interesting to you when you're thinking hard about philosophy, but you're also thinking about how erudite subjects in philosophy function in the real world, but also how we actually do data analysis in some different subject areas, particularly if we want to figure out how they impact our experience, right? You could also do different kinds of course keywords where you could do identity, something really broad, and see what comes up, right? Disability studies. And you could do that and you could have a lot of fun. But I also would say what you can do is if you find a course offered by a department faculty member, what you might do is look their name up. Okay, ooh, Sabina Bremner, Professor Bremner. Let's look up Professor Bremner, right? And we're going to go by, oh, didn't come up. All right, so I'm going to go back to the people page. People, let's see, is she a department faculty member? We don't know until we go there. Let's see. Oh, there she is. We can read her bio. Think about where she studied, what her subjects of her own research are, what she's published about, and then figure out, might even sometimes have courses that they've offered. Their CV might also have that. And that might tell you what Professor Brenner is going to offer another time going forward. Doesn't mean it's always going to happen, but there are a lot of ways to kick a lot of tires. And if you found a cool course she offered 3 years ago, you might email that professor and say, hey, Professor Brenner, I was really fascinated by what you're doing with Kant and your research and your publication. And I saw that you offered a course X, Y, and Z 2 years ago. Any chance that course is going to be offered in the next couple of years? And go from there. Okay. Any other questions before we shut down and everybody could probably go off and hopefully have their lunch? Okay, seeing none. As I said, my email is in the chat. Grab the chat, grab the links that Akila posted. And if you don't have those links or anything like that, have fun digging around and then email me or email Akila and ask us any of your questions and we'll try and see if this is a good fit for you. The key thing is you want to be in a program that you have fun in. If you enjoy it, it's easier to put the time in, especially because a lot of folks are doing other things. If you're part-time and you're working, you got to really love it to do the reading, to attend seminar sessions, to have discussions, to hit the library virtually or in real book flipping mode, and then write a paper. And if more you like it, the more you also will uptake and internalize the things that you're reading and you're studying and you're discussing, the more enjoyable the whole course experience will be, but also the better the takeaways will be down the road because you'll remember stuff because you had so much fun learning it and your outcomes from the program will be better as well. So it's a really fascinating program. I think many of these graduate liberal studies programs are really real gems, and a lot of folks don't know that they even exist. So the fact that you stumbled into the MLA here at Penn is cool. And Akil and I are happy to answer questions later and see if we can help you figure out if this is a good fit for you. Have a great day.
Thanks for coming, everyone.